invest in a lot of things. We're going to keep this kind of in the tech sandbox because this is a tech show.
Yep.
But when you see that, what is kind of the threshold for you being like, I am going to dig deeper and I'm going to spend, whatever that initial glance might be, an hour, 2 hours, really starting to look at this business?
Yeah, it's usually, for me, it's usually pretty fast, only because I have an overdeveloped sense of this, and that's just the product of years. So for other, your mileage may vary, but the first thing I do is I use what I call the Ballmer test, which is just a silly way of saying, like, does it appeal to developers? Because if you've never seen it, go look up Steve Ballmer developers. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. The YouTube will come up. But Ballmer was right that developers do matter. And so when you see developers that are sort of coming on board and using a tool or talking about a tool, it helps. So for me, like, I have access to developers, so I can verify that for us, because we use Fastly, and I can ask our developers how we use it. And I can get Dan Sebas telling me, like, I can envision like 10 different things we can do with this thing. It really starts to resonate with me. Independent of that, you can use this tool that I'll put into the chat here called GitHub. And GitHub is, you can look up how a company's product is actually rated. You can look at the star ratings for some of the software libraries they'll put up there. And all of these companies, they usually put their software up on GitHub. It's a way to organize software development. And so, yeah, look for those stars. It can be very interesting. Also, just look for, stories. You can just, honestly, you can do a Google search and say, like, name your company, developers, and see what pops up. If developers are talking about this, it's usually a good sign. So that's one thing I do. If developers are interested, and sometimes in their SEC filings, they'll say, like, we have X many developers that use our product. All of those things it's a checkbox. If developers like it, I'm starting to get interested. Another thing I'll say is I want to look at this from how was the company born? So I really like to look at the origin story. We talked about product, like product's what I lead with, right? A historical pattern that I have found is that, especially in tech, when a founder is customer zero, like, they had this problem and they were determined to build a product to solve it, that's usually a really good indicator. And so there are many companies like this, Fastly's like this. Artur Bergman, working at the Wikimedia Foundation, playing around with other content delivery networks, it's not working for him, saying, screw it, I'm gonna build my own. Builds his own, makes it better. That's a customer zero incident, right? That's Fastly, being founded by a CEO, now chief architect, who says, I'm going to be customer zero here and build something better. That was also MongoDB.
And for the folks that aren't, and for the folks that maybe aren't familiar with MongoDB and Fastly, I mean, Shopify is like,
there you go.
That is like probably one of the best known and extremely successful case studies in exactly what you're talking about there, Tim.
Yeah. Toby Lutka, customer zero. I'm gonna build it myself because the thing that I need does not exist. In tech, which is naturally an innovative field, when a founder comes in and is customer zero, pay attention to that.
I love that, because usually if that's the case, it isn't hard to find that. It's going to be front and center in the prospectus. It's probably going to be in the about us on the company website.
100%. Yes.
Anybody who's covering it, especially if it's a lesser known company that's coming public, that's going to be in the lead of the news article about that company. That just becomes the story.